Most players think pros are only better because of their mechanics and ping, but decision making and fighting IQ are two of the biggest things holding players back. I'm going to go over some examples from pros, starting with mid-game fights and working up to end-game situations to see if you'd make the same decisions that pros do. The first clip is Shark vs EU Pro iDrop, who has earned almost $300,000, and it puts your decision-making and aggressive fights to the test. To start this fight, iDrop and Shark both start building towards each other, and let's start out pretty easy here. What does Shark look to do to start the fight? Does he A, try and cone iDrop from below to box him, B, leap jump left to look for a shot and to take iDrop's sidewall, C, box up to play defensive, or D, leap jump right and ramp over iDrop to look for a stare at it on height? Shark decides to leap jump and go to the right to move as fast as possible and looks for a ramp edit here, as this gives him height over iDrop and also a possible opening in the fight. iDrop escapes and they continue to fight for height. iDrop finds a nice drop down to tag Shark, so Shark boxes up and looks to heal. They both get chopped and need to wingsuit away. Both players barely escape and heal, and Shark pushes back toward iDrop with the storm coming in behind him. Shark realizes iDrop is in his old builds and tries to hit a pump shot, but iDrop blocks it and tries to jump towards zone to disengage. If you are Shark in this situation, do you A, sit back and storm and look for AR tags on iDrop, B, wrap around left to disengage, C, tank storm and rotate when iDrop has moved, or D, push him and try to shotgun him in the back? Shark decides he likely has a health advantage here, and that iDrop is facing the other direction running to zone, so he wouldn't be able to react to a quick shotgun shot. He also realizes they are likely to get third-partied, so he pushes iDrop and pumps him. While conventional wisdom may say to not storm fight on back zone, it's still only a 2-tick. If you're confident you have an advantage and can outlast the opponent, you can make it back to zone with good health due to the new siphon mechanic and the wingsuit's mobility. Shark does take a couple of tags since he didn't cover himself before jumping in, and iDrop barely gets out. Shark pickaxes out and goes up to the box iDrop is healing in to try and finish the fight. In this situation, does Shark A, look for piece control above iDrop and go an extra layer up, B, try to pickaxe the front wall and catch iDrop by surprise, C, relocate to the left wall to get a different angle, or D, place a high wall to block iDrop from going out the top? Shark jumps up to the left here, a layer above iDrop, as he reads that iDrop is trying to go up. He knows iDrop is really low HP and likely doesn't have many builds. Going up here to look for a counter peek is a play that a lot of good players like iDrop might make. Shark reads this, boxes iDrop, and ends the fight. Part of what makes Shark, and pros in general, so good is their ability to predict their opponent's actions, as you can see in this final moment. The next fight is from Peterbot in the most recent solo qualifier, where he played on 50 ping, and it tests your decision making in defensive situations. To start this engagement, Peter follows an opponent into the balloon station and aggressively leaps past the door. The opponent comes out at the exact moment to piece him, and Peter gets hit for 100. What does he do when he gets out of the box? Is it A, make a metal 2x1 to heal, B, build up and place floor so the opponent can't easily reach him, C, wingsuit away and reset, or D, immediately look for counter damage from above? Peter makes a metal 2x1 and heals. Even though he's likely better than the opponent, he's still one-shottable, so he plays patient here. The opponent keeps pushing, and instead of holding walls, Peter creates space. The opponent takes his wall, but Peter edits out, and the opponent starts hitting a wall where Peter is one tile away. What does Pete do here? A, reset builds and continue to box, B, try to box the opponent, C, open a window for chip damage, or D, back into the second box and edit the stair for a right-hand peek. Peter backs into the second box, edits the stair, and cracks the opponent. Something you might not have noticed is that Peter is low on materials, so he had to make a play quickly. At this point, the opponent had been conditioned to expect defense, so he doesn't expect this peek. The opponent then takes the middle stair in Pete's box, so what does he do next? A, reset the wall and pop a big, B, bait the opponent and pre-fire, C, shoot the ramp to replace it, or D, pickaxe through to force a 50-50. Peter chooses option B. He shoots the stair, the opponent edits, and Peter swings right to easily finish the fight. These micro decisions win fights. Nothing flashy here, just really smart timing and positioning. The next fight we have here is from Mr. Savage, and this tests your decision making in third-party situations. Savage wingsuits in and hits a tree to land quicker, then cones the opponent's tops. To start the engagement, does he A, safely pressure with one pickaxe swing, B, drop down to the sidewall looking for a pre-fire, C, drop down to the sidewall to pickaxe in, or D, spray the top of the opponent's wood floor past the cones? Savage decides the best course of action is to safely peek behind a wall and more patiently look for an advantage instead of jumping in. What you might not have noticed is that the opponent Savage is fighting appeared in the kill feed at the start of the clip. While Savage doesn't really know for sure if this is the same person, the fact that the opponent stopped shooting and isn't really building tells Savage that the fight was likely over and the opponent probably had time to heal. Because of that, he wouldn't be able to jump in like a normal third party. Savage pressures the opponent's tops but gets shot in the back by a new third partier. He blocks off the opponent, pops a slurp, and has a good idea of where the opponent is because of visual audio. So in this situation, do you think he A, drops down to fight the other opponent, B, edits out his top and builds up to the opponent in front of him, C, side jumps and high walls the opponent to take his piece, or D, edits open and looks for a pump shot from a right hand peek below? The correct answer here is B. He ramps up while hugging the wall so the opponent can't see him due to the ramp angle, and he's able to quickly place a cone and pump the opponent. This option is both hidden and extremely fast, giving the opponent very little time to react. The opponent builds up and Savage chases, covering his tops. He almost boxes the opponent but misses an edit, letting him escape. What do you think Savage's next play here is? A, look for a chop, B, side jump and piece the opponent above him, C, retake height, or D, stand in front of the opponent's wall looking for a pre-fire? Savage looks for a chop here. He realizes he already took many of the walls the opponent was standing on when he was trying to box him, so the chop play makes sense here. Although the opponent reconnects, Savage eventually drops him and hits him with a pump shot. He follows the opponent, takes the wall, and easily finishes the fight since the opponent had burned so many mats at that point. Next, we have decision making in an early game fight with Marius. Marius notices two players here, tags one and goes over to the other. The other opponent pumps Marius for all of his shield. So what does Marius do here? Does he A, run backward to heal and refarm, B, keep height and quickly pop heals, C, jump on the opponent, or D, box up to reload and full heal? What he does here is that he doesn't panic. He keeps the high ground to gather information on both opponents and pops a mini. He then realizes he has a shot on the other opponent, who thought he could refarm. Marius almost pieces him, but the opponent escapes. Marius goes back up to height, where he gets pumped due to a build grid issue. He pops a slurp and ramp flips when the opponent pushes. Now, with only 10 builds left, what does he do? A, try and disengage, B, look to chop the opponent by editing builds, C, look for a side jump shot, or D, wait for the opponent to make a play and react. He goes for the side jump shot. It's the only low mat aggressive play he could make to get the opponent off of him in this situation. He pushes toward the opponent knowing his slurp is active and that the opponent hasn't healed because of constant pickaxe pressure. Because of this, he presses with his health advantage. Marius chases through the builds and the opponent goes down. When Marius drops here, he notices the opponent is behind the wall here due to visual audio. So here, does he A, look for a sprint jump shot, B, place a wall and edit for piece control, C, build a stair to shoot from above, or D, place a ramp and ramp flip to shoot? Here, he simply sprint jump shoots the opponent, as he knows the opponent is looking to escape and any trade is in his favor, and that he can't rely on builds here since he's almost out of mats. He cracks the opponent's shield by doing this, where the opponent runs down into the treatment plant and he chases. Marius then slide shoots through the door, which is the best way to aggressively play here while covering yourself, since you can keep your sprint momentum while having no delay on your shotgun from sprinting. The opponent jumps into the water below, and at this point, it's an easy 50-50 for Marius to finish the fight. Marius doesn't panic and is able to pressure effectively to win this engagement. But what about when you're fighting in the late mid-game and endgame in a stacked lobby? Here's a clip of Higgs. Given the visual audio and knowing the opponent's general location, how would you start this fight? Would you A, sprint jump, slide, and build towards him for a pump shot, B, drop down and try and break his sidewalls if he boxes up, C, place floors and cones all around him to look for doubles, or D, spray the opponent's wood walls to look for a quick pump shot when the wall breaks? Higgs ends up sliding towards the opponent on his own builds and keeps his momentum by sprint jumping and sliding. He surprises the opponent with a quick 74 tag. Many players think you need to take a lot of pieces and play really mechanically to deal a lot of damage. But a lot of times, all you need to do is move quicker than they can react and abuse server desync. Higgs pressures from above, drops down with the double stair so the opponent doesn't know where he's dropping, and relocates to a side wall. How does he pressure here? Does he A, go for a single pickaxe then pull out his gun looking for a pre-fire, B, double pickaxe in while the opponent isn't ready, C, double pickaxe then mantle up, or D, pull out his gun instantly looking for the edit? He picks option C, where since he is approaching from an awkward angle for the opponent, he knows he has time to swing the pickaxe twice before canceling the end of his pickaxe animation by mantling instantly. He then goes on top and hits the cone, and the opponent relocates because he pressured from so many different pieces in rapid succession. Higgs goes for a jump ADS shot, then slides across the top to retain his momentum and edits down. How does he pressure this wall here though? Does he A, stare at the opponent with a shotgun out and hit a pre-fire? B, double pickaxe in to finish the fight quickly, C, pickaxe once then relocate to the floor above, or D, pickaxe once and pull out a shotgun for a pre-fire? Similar to the previous decision, he hits the wall once here, and because there wasn't a cone above the opponent, he goes back up. He goes back up and hits the floor once, and then takes the cone since it was one hit, and the opponent thought that he held the cone since he had just built in brick, and Higgs replaces this brick with his own to finish the fight here. Higgs was constantly changing angles here on his opponent and swapping between vertical and horizontal pressure, allowing him to create the openings he needed to finish the fight. The final example shows Clix in an endgame situation where height is being contested. He starts this situation out by getting a nice high wall to kill a weak opponent on height, and thinks he has the high ground in this situation, but realizes that there was an opponent on the front side of zone that took height while he was fighting for it. Here, does he A, spray at the opponent, B, ramp above the opponent to take height, C, drop down and look to play a mid layer, or D, tarp on the same layer and connect to opposite height. He ends up picking option D, where he tarps right at the player on height on the front side of zone and looks to bide his time here and pops a big to get his HP back to full. By doing this, he still has the opportunity to play for height later and isn't at risk of being shot out by height since he attached to him. He starts to crouch in order to look for height, and the opponent sees him, so what does he do here? A, side jump and shoot at the opponent and build for height, B, continue tarping out in front, C, drop down and look for a middle layer, or D, spray the opponent out to take height that way. Here, he side jumps out from under his floor and looks for a pump shot on the opponent, and is able to look for height. Clix is able to quickly analyze that the opponent probably doesn't have very much build, seeing a bunch of single layers built in wood, meaning that with his 500 mets, he likely would be able to take height easily here as he does. The opponent drops down and tries to wingsuit away, and Clix is able to clean up the kill here with his AR, and drops down and places a bunch of cones to catch the loot. Because Clix tarped straight to the opponent and went under him, he was able to wait for the perfect opportunity to make a play for height while the opponent didn't have an angle on him, as he mirrored height here. Even if you predicted what the pros would do, actually replicating those decisions is much harder in-game. It's easy to make the right call while watching, but in real fights, you're tracking so many things that you're more likely to make mistakes and die. If you enjoy content like this and are interested in improving your decision making in fights, watch this video on Marius to see his really smart aggressive play mixed with his formulaic defensive game plan.